There was pressure. There were problems. There were moments when it felt like everything might fall apart. But in the end, we pulled off a multi-million-dollar affiliate launch that blew past expectations. In this episode, I'm sharing the real behind-the-scenes story, what we did right, where we nearly failed, and the powerful lessons you can use to grow your own affiliate program. If you're ready to take your affiliate program and your business to the next level, well, you're in the right place. I'm Matt McWilliams, best-selling author and 4-time Affiliate Manager of the Year, and I've built dozens of affiliate programs from the ground up to over $1 million a month. I'm here to show you how you can do it too. Let's get started. I got to tell you, I am pumped about what we're talking about today. This episode is called The Affiliate Army Playbook, Lessons from a Record-Breaking Launch, and that's exactly that. It's a behind-the-scenes breakdown of one of the most successful launches we've ever run. It actually became the biggest revenue event in our client's history. And so I sat down with one of our affiliate managers. This is a couple years ago. I sat down with one of our affiliate manager, Jim Askins, for a full debrief. And we use the same process that we use internally after every major affiliate promo. We call it KISS method, K-I-S-S. And I don't know where I got this from. I feel like it was, I don't know, was it Gino Wickman? And I'd love to give credit where credit is due. I don't know where to give credit. But KISS stands for keep, improve, stop, and start. So keep, what worked? What are we going to keep doing? We want to identify like some of the things maybe we tried that actually worked, some of the things that are still working. We've been doing them for 10 years. Okay, are they still working? These are the things that worked. What do we need to improve? What needs tweaking? So we're going to keep it, but it needs to be tweaked a little bit. Maybe it's something that we tried and we tried, 2 versions of it and A worked better, but there were elements of B that worked. Maybe it's something that we've been doing for 5 or 10 years and we notice, okay, this is becoming a little bit less effective. What are some of the things that we can tweak? The stop is like, we're just done with this. This didn't work. It hasn't worked. It's the 3rd time we've tried it and it has not worked yet. Let's just forget about it. And then, what do we need to finally start doing? Something that we didn't do that we need to start. An idea that we had that we couldn't execute on, but we really feel would have made a difference. And so Jim brought some really killer insights to this one. So whether you're in the middle of planning a big launch or you just, want to improve some of these things are not just launches. These are applicable to evergreen affiliate programs. And this episode is going to give you some real kind of insights, some practical takeaways that you can apply to your affiliate program. And if you're curious about what it looks like to work with us, if you've ever thought, man, I'd love to have someone like Matt and his team run our affiliate program, you're in good company. We have worked with legends like Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, Jeff Walker, Ryan Levesque, Stu McLaren, Michael Hyatt, Lewis Howes, Ray Edwards, brands like Shutterfly and Adidas, Claire Diaz-Ortiz, Kim Walsh-Phillips, Brian Tracy. I mean, the list goes on. And if you want to explore what that could look like for you, I'm going to put the info in the show notes, but you can shoot me a text at 260-217-4619, area code 260-217-4619. Let's chat. Let's just talk about it. So, all right, let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Jim Askins as we discuss the lessons from a multi-million-dollar affiliate launch. Jim, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. So first off, man, let's tell people about you because this is kind of cool. This is the second time we've done this where we've had one of our affiliate managers come on and we're doing a recap of a launch. But, you've been with the team, for, a little over 6 months now, just a little bit over 6 months. Yeah. And just tell everybody, real quick, first of all, what part of England are you from? And, and just, a quick version, kind of what, your experience has been with the team so far.
Well, the first thing I did was actually with the book launch. That was the first thing we did. And then we did with QFM here, the Quiz Funnel Masterclass. and just finished that up. And that, that started back in March and just ended up at the end of June. So that's taken up most of the time that I've done since I've been with the team. But, I know that we have some things coming down the road that I'm going to be starting here shortly and looking forward to that. But yeah, the Quiz Funnel Masterclass it's one that's taken the most time with me that I've worked on.
Yeah, I love it. So, one of the things that, just to give some people a little bit of background, like this ended up being a great launch overall. In fact, in one day, they had the highest revenue producing event in the history of the company, which is pretty dadgum exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be a part of that. But what we're going to talk about today is lessons and takeaways, the working of title of this. And I guess it's one of those things, like we never know what the title is going to be till after we record sometimes. So we might come up with something better. But, the title probably is something like The Affiliate Army Strikes Again. And, we have been preaching this and talking about it like, no, you have to build an army. You cannot just have like your 10 affiliates. And so we'll talk about that as we go, how much of a role that played. But as we do this today, we're going to be using our KISS method, which is not keep it simple, stupid. It's actually keep, improve, stop, start. So we're going to talk about things that we're going to keep. We're going to talk about, maybe it's things that we tried and they worked, or things that we've done many times and they worked. We'll talk about things that we're going to improve. Again, things that we tried and like we see potential for them. So we're going to improve those. Or maybe they're things we've done for years, but we let slide and we're going to improve upon those. Things that we're going to stop. We ain't doing those again. Those are just bad ideas, And then things that we're going to start as a result of going through this experience. So you guys get the benefit of this. For all of you podcast listeners, you're going to know all of the intricacies behind a multi-million-dollar affiliate launch. And along the way, we'll share some lessons. So there might be some things, especially as we, there are a few things. I know I've got a couple. Jim, you got some where it's like, this doesn't fit into the keep, improve, stop, start. It's just, you know what? These are just lessons. So, Jim, I'll kick us off. You've never done one of these before. And just so you guys know, I have no idea what Jim's going to say, and he has no idea what I'm going to say. I'll take that back. We kind of know because some of these things are things we've talked about as we've gone, but we did not sit down and write a script for this. So I don't know his bullet points. He said he has like 20 things. I have like 11 things. Some of them are probably overlapping. So, this is, you guys are getting the raw, unfiltered, like this is just Jim and I, almost like we're sitting together going, okay, what do we do? Like this is our company rehash or recap of the launch. We will not really do a private one of these other than there are a couple of things that we do know that we're not going to talk about on this. And we'll do a private, what we call an after action review, an AAR, where we talk about a couple of those things that are a little bit more sensitive topics. So I don't know what Jim's going to share. He doesn't know what I'm going to share. If he shares something and I'm like, you know what, that actually is a little bit too confidential or something like that, and we decide we're going to pull out, then we'll just pull it out. Be like, I was listening to a book recently about a CIA operative, and there's this one chapter where I swear every fourth word was redacted. And I'm like, I can't follow it. I don't know. What are you talking about? And I'm like, trying to figure out like who's redacted. Was redacted the chief or was redacted this other guy? I don't remember. And then there was two people named redacted. And I'm like, well, which one did it? I don't know. So we'll try to limit that though, but just know that might happen. So with that said, I'm going to jump in with a keep. One of the keeps is that we continue to evolve and do more one-on-one communication. I have been in this industry, Jim, for 17 years now. And early on, it was a lot of one-on-one communication. I built my first affiliate program, believe it or not, starting with one affiliate. Duh, right? And then I had 2, and then 3, and then 4, and so on into thousands. Built that into over $1 million a month affiliate program. Years later, as I was running programs for like Adidas and Shutterfly and big companies like that, we would have hundreds of thousands of affiliates. And I wasn't able to do a lot of one-on-one with them. And so it became more mass communications. And over the past few years, we've continued to do more one-on-one, and we've figured out a pretty good system for that. We figured out how to do that one-on-one communication in a way that my friend Hunter Ingram refers to it as developing intimate relationships at scale. You cannot spend a half hour a day Like if you do the math, if you work 40 hours and you spend a half hour talking to somebody, that means you can have 80 conversations at max and do no other work. So assuming you got other work to do, which you do as an affiliate manager, as a business owner, you got at least 20 hours. So that means you can do 40 conversations a week. That's it. That's your max. And if you talk to everybody once a quarter, I'm not doing the exact math on that, but there's some sort of limit there, that's under 500. Like that's the absolute max that you can tap out at. But we figured out a pretty good system for managing those one-on-ones. And so my lesson in that and the keep is continuing to develop those one-on-one relationships and that one-on-one communication before leading up to a big launch and during the launch, not just the mass communication, those quick little, like you send a mass communication, then you send a follow-up one-on-one with your top 30 to 50 with a little bit of something specific to them is very powerful. So Jim, like you said, we'll alternate. We'll just alternate and I'll let you, what do you got for a keep?
Yeah, I know that you and Jason did this on TME, but the hot leads, I mean, it's still, with how it's paying off, how it worked with us on our launch, and, just giving the affiliates what they need there at the end and being able, and you just touched on about the one-on-one with the affiliates, but then the affiliates doing one-on-ones and reach outs with the people that, that had clicked, that had opted in and things like that. So the hot leads, and, you have the stats, I don't, but just, how that pays off and the one-on-one, developing relationships, and then closing the sale at the end of the launch and using the hot leads list, it's been good and we're going to keep making it better. But that, I love it.
That was on my list. That is in our playbook for every launch, especially. And so let's describe what the hot leads are. Hot lead is exactly what it sounds like. I'm going to use round numbers here. If somebody sends 1,000 leads, 1,000 opt-ins, roughly 2 or 3%, so 20 or 30 of those leads are like scalding hot, ready to buy. They're at an 8 or above out of 10 on the potential buyer scale. And basically what we've done is developed a system for identifying those. Now, it varies a little bit based on the launch sequence, or it could be evergreen as well, but it develops a little bit. So in the membership experience in TME, you had 3 days of the workshop and then a webinar, and then you had open cart. So basically 5 actions. And what we identified was, okay, who had attended all 4 live events and clicked to the sales page, or attended, I think it was 3 live events and abandoned cart. They had actually gone all the way to the checkout page and then left. Or maybe it was 2. I think it was 2. If they'd attended 2 live events and abandoned cart, or they attended all 4 live events and they clicked on the sales page, I think it may have been multiple times. And for most people, I remember one lady, she had 15 hot leads. She closed 11 of them. 11 out of 15 in less than an hour. That's 11 times 800. That's almost $9,000 in affiliate commissions for less than an hour of work. I don't know about you guys, but that's a really good ROI. So with this one, we had like 10 live events followed by all kinds of stuff. And so what we did was we scored the leads. And then we said, I think it was like everybody who scored a 10 or above, we would consider those to be a hot lead. And so you just have to figure out like what you're looking for is what is that top roughly 2 to on the high end 7%. Like if you get 2,000 leads, you got somebody with 2, 3, 4,000 leads, they're not going to be able to, deal with the hot leads of more than, 100 people at most. So you've got to figure out a scoring system or something like that. And so, you might assign like a point for every live event they signed up to. Maybe it's like, 2 points for a sales page visit, 4 points for an abandoned cart. And okay, you total that up and you figure, okay, what's the max number of points? Well, the max number of points is 24. Okay, what's the average number that all the leads have? The average number is 6. Okay, so if the max is 24, the average is 6, a hot lead's probably somebody at 15 or above or 18 or above. And then you just kind of look and go, okay, if I just pick 1,000 leads, what percentage are at 8 or above? Oh, it's 5%. Boom, that's probably a good threshold. And so there's 2 options. You can score their whole list and just say, here's your whole list and the scores, do what you want with it. Or you can just say, I'm telling you your hot leads. And it's really super easy. once you develop the technology in the background to be able to do that, it's super easy for you as an affiliate manager. And that's something we're definitely keeping, Jim. You're spot on there. Mm-hmm. It's a good one. That number 3, keep great affiliate gifts. I've done affiliate gifts for years. Just to be clear, not gifts like animated gifts, but gifts with a, GIFTS. We sent out a couple of really good affiliate gifts in advance that they just built that reciprocity and got people excited. And, they were talking about it. And for us, it was a way, again, not only of building that reciprocity with people who were already 100% committed to promote, but just getting them, even more excited. But also, it was a really good way of getting some people who maybe were on the fence to reach out to us and say, thank you so much for this really amazing gift, a few $100 gift. I'm using them, by the way, isn't your launch coming up? And so that worked really well. And again, that's the key. I mentioned they were using them. Don't send them a gift. I'm using a gift right now, an affiliate gift. It's a mug. So this person knows I drink green tea every afternoon. This person knows specifically exactly what I'm drinking right now, which is green tea. So my coffee in the morning, I put in a thermal mug. I have a big thermal mug, also from a client. It's a Zig Ziglar mug. And he knows I drink green tea, and he knows I don't. Somehow we came up in conversation. I don't use a thermal mug when I drink in the afternoon because I want to let it cool off so it's not so hot. So what did he do? Sent me a couple of mugs with his branding on them, but they're super classy. I'll show you, Jim. You can see, it's got a cool thing. It's a nice mug. It's a really nice mug. So he sent this to me. I'm thinking about him. The odds of me possibly, when we end this podcast, sending him a text and just saying, hey man, how's it going, are pretty high. And so if you can find something that they use, people say, I got coasters. I got a coaster set right here that I use. Not custom made, but they're from Etsy. They were custom made, but not just for me, just to be clear. Things that people will use, think about that. That they're gonna look at a lot. If you can find something like that, that's a good affiliate gift. Mm-hmm. All right, Jim, what's your next? Keep
Google Calendar invites. Using those. Now, we had for the strategy calls. We've actually pitched back and forth a few other things, maybe of adding those to them. But it's a good reminder. We had strategy calls twice a week. So, they were receiving reminders for those, and then with those, you can always attach, Swipe. You can attach other things to it as well. So that was a little tool that we started using recently. We used it in this launch, and we're going to keep using it and refining it and making it better because it is a great tool. It is. And
that was something we used. It's such a simple thing. I say that and it's oh, duh. But we had we got 500 affiliates. For going back to TME, we had, 1,000 affiliates, and, we'd have 30 people show up for a strategy call. And we started using those Google Calendar invites. We started it with QFM, but then we applied it to TME, because there's actually QFM. We started using that before, months in advance of the launch. And we're wait a minute, duh, we'll use that for TME too. And it doubled the show up rate on everything. And you can use those calendar invites for all sorts of things, because if they accept it, then it pops up. And if they decline it, then they're not attending. You get a notification. You can reach out to them and be hey, since you can attend, I'll make sure to, whatever. Hey, you want to jump on a private call? Whatever the case may be. And so the very first one we ever did, we had 300 people. And I remember we had one of our VAs copy and paste every single email address, go click, save, send, click, paste, save, send, copy, paste, save, send. And it only took him a half hour, but it's still a half hour of just utter boredom. And then he finally figured out that if you actually, in a spreadsheet, you have all the affiliates listed, you have their email address, then if you then in the column next to it list their email address followed by a comma, you can drag and drop down the whole way, copy and paste those over and invite everybody. And that worked really well. So that is definitely, just like the hot lead, something that we are keeping in the future. So that was a good one, Jim. I'll let you go with another one.
Okay. The video and social media calendar we made after Ryan. It was detailed from the very beginning until the very end. And, Ryan's brilliant, and he knows how to do a lot of things, but it was just one less thing he really had to think about. And we went through there, and it was, even just, after whether it was a webinar or a workshop or anything. I mean, it didn't matter what it was. It's just he had that schedule there because he has so many other things going. He's like, okay, I can look at this and then go on here. Here's what I need to do. Oh, here, I can put this, on social media, do whatever. But, I just really liked having that laid out. And he even remarked about how helpful it was to him as well. But that's...
So let me interrupt you and have you describe what you're talking about to everybody, because this applies whether you're, if you're an affiliate manager full-time working for a company, or you're an outsourced program manager, or even just for yourself. Tell us exactly what you mean by that calendar for him.
Okay. So, just when we actually started promoting. And so we started June 1st, and we're like, we put down, okay, Ryan, here's what's going on this day. You can go into our Slack channel, post here with this message. When you're going, on the 2nd, when you're driving around or get your phone out, you're doing your walk or whatever, get your phone out, make a short video, and then, we can put that on our Slack channel, or you can, send it however you want to do it, that would be most effective. And then even some things like with emails, it laid out everything as it went along. And then even like, after a workshop or a webinar or something, hey, get on there and, and say about how awesome it was, and, just all the things that went on and all the people and everything, just reminding him again to make sure and follow up with the entire schedule that was going on throughout the launch. It just, it took something off of his plate he really didn't have to think about, and was able to go through and just execute and do the things that he needed to do.
Yeah, I'm definitely writing that one down as a keep. So we need to document that one, Jim. Keep that one because that's a good one. What we did, just so you guys know, is we told our client, Ryan Levesque, in advance, here's all the stuff we will need you to post to affiliates that needs to come from you. Sometimes going in and be like, hey guys, it's the first day of the workshop. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Coming from him is better than it coming from me. Mm-hmm. But we told him months in advance. I think probably like 2 months before the launch even started, we had everything like, hey guys, it's a month before the launch. Hey guys, it's 2 weeks before the launch. Hey guys, the launch starts tomorrow. Hey, the webinar's tonight, blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, it was, and most of those things like, hey guys, the webinar's today. I'm so excited. I can't wait. He could record that weeks in advance, months in advance, and then schedule the post. Some of the stuff like post a thing after the webinar saying how it went, you can't do that in advance. But at least he knew April 1st that on June 21st, he was going to have 10 minutes to go post a message to the affiliates saying, here's how things went. So he could, like, when he was planning his schedule, he couldn't schedule something at 6:30 that night because at 6:30, from 6:30 to 6:40, he had to take that time to write that message and post it. So if you're doing it yourself, making that list yourself, what videos can you record in advance? Hey guys, the launch starts tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Blah, blah, blah. Make sure you grab your swipe copy if you haven't yet, et cetera, et cetera. You can record that weeks in advance, and it saves you from having to do all the stuff like the day of or the night before. And, when you get into a launch, things can be really crazy and hectic. So as much as you can do in advance, the better. Here's one that we did. So we did a ticketed workshop. So the workshop was not free. It's what we call paid free. So there's free, which is it's normally free and it's still free. You got paid. It's normally paid and it's still paid. And you got paid free. Normally costs money. Now it's free. That's what we did with the workshop. People have attended this workshop and they paid $100, exactly $100. But with the affiliates and for some other people, with affiliates and through some other means, there were ways to get in for free. You had an exclusive code that got you in for free. And the result, I posted some stats about a month before saying, because we were deciding on whether to do this, and I shared these numbers with the team like, okay, here's what will happen. Here's the studies that we've done and other clients that we've worked with that have done this, and here's the results. And we had projected that basically you'd have about a 350% increase in engagement and about a 40% increase in buyers as a percentage of opt-ins. I was wrong on that to the tune of engagement was up over 600%. not as a percentage of opt-ins. We actually had lower opt-ins and a 6-fold increase in engagement. So as a percentage of opt-ins, engagement was up almost 900% as a result. Why is that? Well, we know when people pay, people who pay attention, right? When people pay, they are more likely to engage. That, of course, makes sense. When it's free, it's like, and I've said this many times. It's why if you look at my bookshelf, I've got it organized by books I've read, books that I've read and will read again, books that I've read but probably won't read again, books that I haven't read and want to read, and they're definitely in my queue, and then books that honestly I still can't remember why I haven't given them to Goodwill. None of those books on that shelf are books that I bought. They're books that were given to me. I don't value them. That's just the reality. I just don't value them. Now, I consume some free books. I got some free books up here given to me by some friends, published by Chandler Bolt, was free. The Hidden Psychology of Social Networks, I read that one. Expert Secrets from Russell Brunson was free. Fix This Next by Mike Michalowicz was free. I've read those books. But I look over here, most of these free books, I didn't read them. So we know why people engage more if they paid. But what about if it's free, but it's positioned as paid, and there's a coupon code? It's in that middle ground. You end up in that middle ground. If people had actually paid, engagement would have probably been 15 times higher. But 9 times higher is pretty good, as a percentage of opt-ins. And you get that by, if you normally sell something and then you position it as free, that's a way of doing it. So put it on sale on your site. Go put it on Amazon. It's the reason why, free book funnels work much better if you actually sell it on Amazon. That works great. It's a little tricky. If you ever go to Amazon, you see a book that's like $100. They don't sell any on Amazon. They sell it on their website for free plus shipping. Mm-hmm. The Amazon book is totally, you could argue it's a ruse, but it's positioning. So anyway, that ticketed workshop, that's one of the reasons why that, the early bird webinar ended up being the largest revenue event in the history of the company, was because, of that engagement, because of the ticketed webinar. Mm-hmm. All right, Jim, your turn, bud.
The strategy calls, just how helpful they are, the engagement. I mean, you're getting affiliates engaged, and even sometimes some of them that would show up that really, you wouldn't expect them to show up, but yet they're there. They're successful because they do show up to the strategy calls and the trainings and things like that. So, just laying out everything. And, it's an opportunity to also answer questions, because there's always questions that come up. But it's just such a tremendous learning opportunity. And no matter where you're at as an affiliate, a beginner, intermediate, or you're ultra successful, it's just something that is helpful and something that, that everybody gets at least something out of.
Yeah, those are huge. Affiliate training is huge. So guys, if you want to see how we do an affiliate training, we're going to put a link in the show notes. You can go watch that training. So training is literally a video that we did for a client. Not only watch that training, but we've got the slides for you in a PDF, in PowerPoint, and in Keynote. So 3 different formats. You can take those slides. If you download the PowerPoint or Keynote version, you can upload those to Google Slides and it'll create them for you. It might change like the fonts or something. You just go in and tweak that. But we've got those slides for you in 3 different formats as well. So you can download those slides, go tweak them, watch how we do it and see, okay, what should you be like? Don't steal my stories. You can't tell the story about the butt sniffing monkey. All right. You can't tell the story about your first affiliate promotion being $588. You can't tell don't steal my stories and pass them off as yours. That's just not cool. But steal the ideas, steal the principles, steal the bullet points, steal the slides. I don't care if you literally copy my slides. I'm giving you permission. You can go download those and get the access to that completely for free. We'll put the link in the show note for that. Speaking of affiliate trainings, I got another one here, that launch kickoff event, which kind of doubled as a training, something we've done before, but not every single time. This was so important, and we're going to do it every single time. Doing a big launch kickoff where you cover the offer, you cover the funnel, if there's a funnel, you cover the important dates and all of that. Here's the great thing about it. If you do that, and we did it, about 90 days in advance, you will reuse that material so much. We ended up reusing slides. I took screenshots of those slides every single day to send them to people like, what's the offer stack here? Boom. We use that as a guide, became a great guide. So it kind of forces you to think through all that stuff well in advance and have a big event, a big kickoff. We really, 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 really stressed how important it is. Like, this was our only ask prior to June 1st. The only ask was come to this kickoff so you can begin to plan. And then we had the replay for it. And, I know that video, we had, 300 some odd affiliates or something like that. And that video was watched by more people than we had affiliates. So that tells me a couple things. Number one, they were sharing the video with like their assistant, their team. Number two, some people watched it multiple times. Mm-hmm. Now they might have gone back and only watched a segment of it, but I don't know. That video was watched by more people than there are affiliates. And that doesn't even include the people who showed up live. So it's a big event, big excitement. You want to make sure to invite them like we talked about using Google Calendar, really make a big deal out of it. So do some sort of a launch kickoff. If you're doing a launch, do it at least 60 days out and make it huge. All right, your turn, Jim.
All right. This will probably be my last keep. But you preach this all the time, Matt, but, and we even mentioned it here early, but I mean, the affiliate army, the idea of smaller affiliates that you're recruiting while everything's going on, and you're working with the smaller affiliates, you're working with first-time affiliates, but just building that affiliate army and the difference that it made in this launch, the difference that it makes, for the affiliates that are involved in it. And, who knows how this is going to pay off down the road. And that's part of the philosophy of this. But just, the small affiliates and building that affiliate army was, really awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like the backbone of our company. And it's the reason why we've, you look at, why we helped Michael Hyatt go from a $300,000 launch to a $1.25 million launch in a year. Well, we went from about 40 affiliates to well over 1,000. We had over 500 affiliates with a sale. When you look at, the numbers that we did with Ray Edwards, when, he went from a handful of affiliates promoting him to hundreds of affiliates promoting him, where, their top 10 is only making up 10 to 20% of their launches. Their top 3 are only making up, 5 to 7% of the launches. That's what you want. And so this was one where we took it from like a very top heavy program to, your top 3 affiliates only accounting for like, 25 to 30% of the sales, which sounds like a lot. That's a lot for us, but in the past, top 3 affiliates might account for, 60, 70% of sales. And that's super risky because, there are times where, and we've seen this happen, I won't mention, which one, where your number one expected affiliate drops out at the last moment. And that really sucks. Well, you know what? We can replace those sales with 10 small affiliates. And it becomes less of a big deal when you have that army. And so, and I've said this so many times, like, this is the direction the industry is trending. Affiliates are promoting, like the bigger affiliates, the ones with 7-figure plus businesses, they are promoting less affiliate offers. They promoted 12 a year 10 years ago. And then it was, 5 years ago, they're promoting, say, 10. And then it was like 8 or 9. And now it's down to, well, we're only doing 4 a year, 5 a year, 6 a year. That's half, a third what they were doing, 7 to 10 years ago. And so if they're only promoting, let's even just go high and say 5, they're only promoting 5. They're not going to promote you every year. It's impossible. We'll be back next year. Cool. But that means every other year we lose that big affiliate. So you've got to build the army. It's just like, well, I don't want to do that. Well, then you want to get left behind. Well, it's not how we've done it for the last 7, 8 years. Then you're going to get left behind. Like, get with the times. It's like saying, I don't want to build a website. I don't know if this internet thing's going to last. Well, it is, I don't want to run Facebook ads. Okay. Well, then you're just leaving money on the table. You don't have to. You don't have to do this. If you want to run, I know many people who they're perfectly content. They're just going to have 20 affiliates and they're going to run $1 million launch. Cool. I'm not arguing with you, but it could be 2.5 million. It could be 3. It could be 4. And a lot of these people that I know that have done this and that were arguing with me 5 years ago when I was kind of like a voice in the wilderness talking about this, many of them are coaching clients now. And they're like, yeah, we see it. We see it now. Like, teach us your ways. So yeah, Let's talk about improve. What's your first improve, Jim?
Well, it has to do with the hot leads and on improving on qualifying the hot leads. And the reason I say that, Matt, is because, you explained a little bit when I mentioned hot leads a while ago, but making sure that you have what you need beforehand to qualify. The information that you need, one of the things was, leave cart. You get to the cart and then you leave it before you actually purchase. Well, we could have had that capability for this launch, but it would have been a little late because of some of the tweaking they had to do on the back end of it. So just making sure and improving the qualifying the hot leads, that's my first improvement that I had down.
Yeah, that's very important. Get clear with your tech team. Do it 90 days in advance. You can't do it too soon. Do it 6 months in advance if you want to. We thought we were doing it far enough in advance by doing it roughly a month before basically it would have been relevant. We thought that was plenty of lead time. So the lesson there, the improve, is no time is too soon to talk about this, whether it's with a client or whether it's with, your tech team. Like, tell them 5 months, 6 months, 8 months in advance, this is what you want to do. And it's better. We thought a month was plenty of lead time. It turned out not to be. That's not anybody's fault. That's not our fault. That's not, the tech, the tech team can't do this. No, they had a bunch of other stuff going on. And in retrospect, I wish we'd told them in April, So as soon as you can come up with what's going to be defined as a hot lead and let the tech team know, the better. A definite improve on our end. And this is not an insult to anyone. Please, nobody take it this way. Never assume a client or never assume that anyone has it all together, that they have everything figured out. The reality is, in a launch or in an evergreen, there are 182 moving parts. And guess what? They're going to screw up one or two. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make bad decisions. They're going to whatever. And if you have an expertise or you have some knowledge, just speak up and say it. And ask a lot of questions. We'll talk about this later. Like, assume ignorance both ways. Oh, there's a live stream. What's the live stream? Tell us about the live stream. How many people are on it? How long is it? Who's in charge of getting the guests? What technology are we using? So when you're off for an hour, what are we doing in that hour? And I'm going to give you an example. We realized this is one of those little things. Rather than we had an 8-hour live stream. It was live for 7 hours, live for 3, off for 1, live for 3, I think it was. Instead of an hour of dead air, basically where they actually restarted it. It was hey, all right, see you guys later. And then they were gone for an hour. And then, hey, you all got to come back to a different link or basically the same link, but it's slightly different or whatever. And we'll be live again. What if in that 1 hour, we came up with all these ideas. So if we ever do this with clients in the future, this is exactly what we're doing. I'm going to tell you guys, this is a 7-figure strategy right here, y'all. Okay. This is so cool. That hour you go, all right, listen, guys, we've been live for 3 hours. I'm going to be live for another 3 hours at 1 o'clock. I need a little bit of a break. I'm going to go spend some time with my family. I'm going to eat some lunch. But listen, we could not have a very special guest on live today. So this is where you pre-record an interview with somebody big. So maybe this is a Tony Robbins of your industry. You don't tell a Tony Robbins, you got to be there at 3:25 p.m. Eastern time or you're not going to be on this thing. So you get somebody big and you pre-record it. And you can go a little bit longer, whatever. And then what you do is you say, guys, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. There's going to be a video that plays. It's basically an ad that runs for whatever you're selling and maybe or some testimonials. Then, guys, I've got some amazing stuff to share with you. And what do you share in that 55 minutes? Otherwise, you share some stories, maybe some testimonial videos, but then you have that interview that you pre-recorded or 2 interviews that you pre-recorded, whatever it is. And you play those, and then about 5 minutes, before the top of the hour, you have some music playing and a countdown timer, or it's it has a countdown timer. Will be, the pre-recorded will be live in 5 minutes and 17 seconds, and it's a testimonial thing playing. And then you come back on live, and it's an hour of engaging content. In fact, it might be the best interview you have. And it's still quote unquote live because the only way to watch the interview is to be on live. But instead of an hour of dead air, you have amazing content for an hour that keeps people engaged, keeps them excited. And then you come back an hour later. You still get your break. Your tech team gets their break. Everybody gets 1 hour just to chill. You can even tell them, like, we're not going to be responding to comments. Or maybe you have one person responding to comments. I don't know. But it's just something to give you a break. Because I've done that. I did a 6-hour live stream once. And I'm telling you, about 4 hours, we planned them like 2 hours and 4 hours. I had to go take a 15-minute break. I had to go to the bathroom and I had to go lie down for 5 minutes and just rest my voice and my head. So you can still do it, but that's the lesson. I'm telling you guys, that is not a 7-figure, a 6-figure lesson that I just shared with you guys. Here's why we didn't do that. We just assumed that they had everything figured out. And if we had just asked the question, we'd have been like, hey, what if we do this instead? And it would have been better, much better experience. All right. So what other improves do you have, Jim?
I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said, and it goes with it, communication. And that's, the 3 C's of affiliate marketing. The first one, communication. And it's just, again, it's not pointing a finger at anyone. It's a matter of, it's relationships, personal, business, doesn't matter. Early communication, consistent communication, thorough communication, all the things that you just mentioned in the previous point, just making sure that everyone's on the same page, asking questions, communication's 2-way, but just improve the communication, do it earlier, be more thorough, all those things that go along with communication.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's something I think we're the best in the world at what we do. And the cool thing is, you can be the best in the world at what you do and still get better. The fastest man in the world can still get a little bit faster. It doesn't just stop training, doesn't stop working out. Like, they're still trying to get better. As an agency, as me as an affiliate manager, me as a leader, I'm always trying to get a little bit better. I feel like we have a great thing going here. We get massive results for our clients. Well, what if I had known what I know now, when I mentioned earlier, 300,000 to 1.25 million for Michael Hyatt. If I'd known then what I know now, I'm going to tell you right now, that launch would have been 1.7 to 1.8 million. So how is that? Like, does that mean I sucked back then? No. This wasn't as good as I am now. And I've learned a few things that we could have used, and I would have thought, it's like in retrospect, I go, man, we would have done that. That's why we do these meetings. And so, yeah, communication is huge. Other improves. You got any more improves, Jim?
It had to do with the hot leads too, and that had to do with the qualifying and the issue we had with that. But the timing of the hot leads to affiliates, again, and that goes with communication, all this ties in together, but just making sure that you have all that together and getting it to them. To me, I would like to have gotten those hot leads to them just a little bit sooner than what they received them. So just improve on that.
I like that. We the first time we ever did it, the hot leads, we sent them late morning of cart close day. That's when we did it. Why did we do it? Because I literally had the idea early morning of cart close day. Nobody had ever done this. I've never seen it done. I told, I won't say who, but there was an affiliate in this particular launch we're talking about that's also a client. And I joked and said, because they were asking me about, how do you guys do these hot leads? And I said, I'll tell you what, in our first coaching call, I said, if you guys hit this many sales in our first coaching call, I'll tell you how we do it. And I was joking because they're a coaching client. They pay us a lot of money. I'm going to do it anyway. But I was just joking with them because that's like, nobody is doing hot leads. We are the only affiliate programs on the face of the earth that I've ever seen. And I'm technically a member of hundreds. I've never seen anybody do this. I hope more people do it because it's brilliant. I hope affiliate programs that we promote will steal this idea from us. I'm not sharing this stuff publicly because I don't want people to steal it. There's a lot of stuff I'm not able to share on this podcast that's reserved for our clients, but this is something I'm sharing publicly. So steal it. I forgot where I was going with that. But the point is, like, we're still improving that. I came up with that the last day of cart close, 5 months ago. And so this one was like, well, the cart closes on Sunday. So we probably need to get these to people on Friday, so that it's not like sending it to them on Sunday. They might got stuff planned. So it was like, well, maybe we even need to do Friday morning, not Friday afternoon. And in retrospect, yeah, I think we teased them this time. That was one thing that we kept mentioning them, like, you're going to get them. But the more I see this, I'm thinking if cart closes on a weekday, I think you get them to them. So cart closes on a Friday, I'd probably go with Wednesday, late afternoon. If cart closes on a Sunday, I'd probably go Thursday, mid-afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So, if cart closes on a Thursday, then I probably get them to them on a Tuesday afternoon, something like that, about 48 hours or more in advance. And one of the things is, you can get them to them and then they might not even use them until, cart close day, because that's when it really takes effect, but at least it gives them that option.
Mm-hmm.
So good one there. Any other improves?
Well, the timing of the partner assets, again, just because of sometimes communication gaps, everything going on and stuff, there was I would like to improve some of the partner assets that were sent to them, the timing of that. And it wasn't anything major, and it's just what you were just talking about earlier about just getting a little bit better every time in every way. And I thought that we could improve on a couple of times there about getting the partner assets to them a little bit more timely.
No. And I love that. Like, I love that we're able to talk about this and be open and honest. Like, did we do pretty darn good? Yeah. Could that have been 5% better? Absolutely. And the cool thing is we're not satisfied with that.
Right.
Like, we realized we were about a day late. This is a 6-month launch window and we were 1 day late, and we're going, dang it. Don't like being a day late. I want to get it out on time. That's how I view it, is like a day late, a day late, $1 short, right? Let's move on to stop. Things that if any more improves, we can talk about in the lessons, but I want to move on to stop. We've talked about things we're going to keep, things we're going to improve. What's the first thing that you would stop doing, based on some stuff we did in this launch?
What I have, the first one is we had that awesome early bird. And then you had Juneteenth and Father's Day. And I'm not even sure if it can do it here, but the stop, not take a break. I mean, did we have to take a break with Father's Day and Juneteenth after the early bird? I wonder if we hadn't taken a break, what that possibly could have done. So does that go to your launch calendar or whatever? I don't know. But taking that break, I'll always have that, I wonder if, because of that break that we had.
Yeah. Holidays and weekends can be killers. And while that particular webinar was the best in the history of the company, it's then going, effectively an entire day off. I'm with you. You don't know.
Right.
There's no way to tell. And, when you have a lengthy launch and you want to own a month, name a month without a holiday of significance. March has Easter half the time, so you can't do March. January is the beginning of the year. So and then you got, MLK Day, which is typically that's a 3-day weekend. So you can't do it then.
Mm-hmm.
At least with Juneteenth and Father's Day, that was on a Sunday and it was the same day. And so it wasn't a 3-day weekend. September, you got Labor Day. You got, Halloween, maybe October if you did it early, when can you do it, right? August, you got kids going back to school. Remember's Thanksgiving. When can you do it and not have something, especially if this, with a longer launch cycle, of over 3 weeks? And so, I don't know with that, to me, I look at that and go, they're trying to fit it in, move it back a week and now you got Memorial Day, at the beginning, and that's tough. So it's probably just moving the whole thing. And that's one of those things, like, what do you do? Because then if you move the webinar to Monday, well, then do you lose the momentum from the workshop on Friday to Monday, And I don't know. I think that could work. I know why they moved the webinar from Sunday. That made sense. It was Father's Day and it was Juneteenth. Right. You just can't do a webinar on that day.
Right.
So was it better on Saturday for the overall launch, not for the webinar itself? For the webinar itself, I think it worked great. But for the overall, was it better on Saturday or was it better on Monday? And the answer is, I don't know. And it's really hard to test something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So I'd love to say I have the answer on that. I don't in this particular case. Like, given what we had, I don't know. And that's one of those things, maybe you can test that in a smaller setting with some different, launches or different mini launches and test that. So I'll be interested. We'll probably test that over the years and start sharing that with people. A stop that I've got is never, ever, ever will I, at least that I shouldn't say never, ever, ever. But in the near future, we will not be using Slack as a communication tool for affiliates. Facebook, group is still the place to be other than email. We tried Slack. It was an experiment. It was not my idea, but I was 100% on board with it because I don't like Facebook. I don't like the fact that I have to log into Facebook to go see what's going on with the launch. And then I get distracted with the ADHD and I'm like, ooh, shiny object, cat video. I don't watch cat videos, but you get the idea, right? And then I'm reading my friends like, no, I went there for this reason. Or at least with Slack, I wasn't going to have that. But the reality is we lost people just checking in. They're checking into Facebook once a day, and they just happened to see an update about the launch and they went, oh, so we lost that. They had to either have the app, and if they don't use Slack, most of them use Facebook already. 98% of them probably have a Facebook account. But we forget sometimes as entrepreneurs, like we use Slack as a team. I'm in 5 different, Slack teams for clients and our stuff and, various things. I forget that it's still not as ubiquitous as I believe it is. And I know you check in, Jim, you check into Slack, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Right.
For just our stuff. I check in 3 times a day, every single day. I don't check into Facebook 3 times a week, but yet not everybody is like me. And I have to just remember that. So it's something we tried. I'm glad we tried it. We now know officially that it's not a good idea, at least for the next few years. Maybe that'll change in 2025 and we'll revisit it. But Facebook groups, you still want to have a partner Facebook group. Don't use Slack. That was my stop there. Any other stops from you?
No, not really. But I'll say something with that. I did actually had Slack/Facebook on my improves about, what to do with that. So you kind of touched on it, with improving partner communication and a better way to do that. So I had it on there just in a different area, but I 100% agree with you on that. But no, that's really about the only thing I have on stop.
Cool. And then what should we start? I've only got one and we've already touched on it a little bit, but I'm curious to hear from you. What should we start doing?
I mean, Ryan was so thorough and just spending these months around him, learning from him in so many different areas. But the one thing was the tracking spreadsheet. I mean, we're already starting to use that, with us, but, to start using that. And we have already started using that, but just, trying to have, and what it did was having a lot of stuff in one place. Maybe we can work on cutting down some of the tabs or whatever, but still just using that tracking spreadsheet for the affiliates and some other things to be able to go to it, find what you need, be able to track it, communication. I mean, it was just very thorough and I thought it was a really good tool, that we're starting to use and I really liked it.
Yeah. This was just basically cleaning up some of the stuff that we've done. And we found that the way that they did some of their projections and things was super beneficial. Mm-hmm. One of the big ones, we touched on it earlier, but this is for affiliate managers, all right? Over communicate with your client or your employer. Over communicate and ask a lot of questions. Get crystal clear on everything. Have discussions months and months in advance in crazy detail. So some examples of things that you could discuss, right? This is not talking about, this particular promotion, just in general. Okay, so you're going through the calendar and it's a 10-day sequence, right? And it says, we talked about this earlier, like it says live stream. Okay, how long is the live stream? You should know that 5 months in advance. How many guests are there? Who's responsible for? Oh, the affiliate manager is responsible for getting the guests. Great. Then, okay, what are our criteria for that? What type are we looking for a mix of genders and, and races? Are we looking for a, do they need to be in the top 20 or the projected top 20? How many do we want to go ahead and book right now? When do we want to book them? Because this is one of those things, like there are things like that where the booking stuff could happen months in advance on a percentage of them, and it leaves a lot less work for you to do leading up to it. So having those conversations, go through, tell me what every day of the workshop is. Yeah, there's a PDF, but let's have a 5-minute discussion about, really a 5-minute discussion about every day of the workshop? Yes, because if I have that 5-minute discussion now, I will never have a question later. And so we used to do a 30-minute onboarding call with new clients, and then I bumped it up to an hour. Then it became 90 minutes. Now they're 2 hours long. And I honestly think that we will probably make them longer. Imagine like the vibe I'm getting when I do our onboarding calls with clients is I'm coming to your office. And if I come all the way to your office, if I take the time to fly across the country, across the world, are we going to have a 2-hour meeting? No, we might meet for 2 hours. And then what are we going to do? We're going to go out to lunch and we're going to continue to talk about it for another 90 minutes. And then we're going to go back to the office and we're going to meet the team, or we're going to meet the team first. Then we're going to meet for an hour and a half. Then we're going to go to lunch. Then we're going to come back and we're going to have a whole day. And I'm not suggesting we do an entire virtual day with our, clients, but really a 2.5, 3-hour meeting where we go through everything. And we are so crystal clear. And I'll just tell them, like, this is going to reduce the number of questions we have by a factor of 8, 7, whatever. So getting crystal clear on everything. If you're an affiliate manager, you need to know everything about the products. Like you need to know, you need to know the launch schedule. You need to know everything. Take that time to do that significantly more in advance. And I felt like our onboarding call for this was probably the most detailed we've ever had. And it still fell way short. And that's on us. And it's why our onboarding calls now, like we have to take a break halfway through. We're exhausted at the end of it. Like I don't book anything. I don't do any other calls those days. Like these are, because, for me, spending 3 hours on Zoom is just exhausting, but it is so important. I mean, we just did one recently. It was the first one we did that was like that more. And I'm telling you right now, it's like, oh my gosh, everything was so much better. So that was huge. So any other starts from you, bud?
No, I mean, you covered that. And, I mentioned it about, it just boils down to communication, but no, nothing right now. No, that's it.
Awesome. Any just other lessons you got from this that we want to share, Jim?
Nothing really specific. It just, I touched on my last point, but just Ryan and his team about how good they are at what they do, how thorough they are, and just how blessed I am and the learning experience that I have with the job that I have. I mean, whether it's spending time with you or the clients or whatever, it's just, you just, when you get a little older, you start looking at the blessings of life. And it's just, it's a blessing, because we work with people, I guess, like from every continent except Antarctica, and that.
Yeah, I mean, affiliates for sure, but clients, we've had clients, North America, South, Claire was in Argentina, Europe, Australia, definitely. I don't know if we've ever, I know we haven't had one in Africa. I don't know if we've ever had a client in Asia, technically. We have team members in Asia, but I'm trying to think if we affiliates, but I don't know if we've ever actually had a client who lives in Asia. So we got 4 clients in 4 continents. That's kind of cool,
Yeah, I mean, and just, so you're talking about that. I mean, with, the lesson, it's just, look at the opportunity that affiliate marketing is and how blessed we are to be able to be involved in it with all the people we get to work with and help and serve and all those things like that. So is that a lesson or not? I don't know. It's just something that I look on that I'm very thankful for.
Oh, I love that. I have a couple of lessons real quick that I'll share from this. Number one, the lesson, fear moves faster than hope. And we've talked about this in our team meetings a bunch lately. In the middle of this particular launch, the stock market crashed. I believe it killed sales immediately. Even though it's recovered and will continue to recover, the one thing you have to keep in mind when you're planning your offers and thinking about like your business, people react much slower to recovery and much slower to hope. And they react much slower to good news than they do to fear, to bad news, and to downturns. Like they react overnight to those things. To good news, they typically react much, much slower. And we even see this this isn't a political thing, but you see this, with COVID. It's like overnight we went into lockdown mode and we reacted very quickly to the bad stuff. And I believe, that when things started to get much better, that people tended to react very slowly to that. Others would argue we probably reacted too fast, but that's neither here nor there. But it's definitely true economically. When you look at, when do people hire? Oh, there's an economic downturn. Lay off 20% right now. And then the economy is recovered for 6 months and they still haven't hired any of that 20% back. And it's like, well, we're just being cautious about it. Like, really? You don't have to hire all 20% back. Do you think you can hire 5% back? Like start the hiring process? So fear moves faster than hope, and people react much slower to good news than bad news. Just know that. Know that we talked about this earlier as a team, that even when things have recovered, your messaging still might have to be around that economic downturn, and we're reacting to the economic downturn months after it's actually recovered. Psychology and economics are different fields for a reason. They're different fields for a reason. So economically, and, I can look at this objectively and go, the economy has recovered or it's in recovery. People aren't going to react to that for months. I can assure you. And the second thing is, for those of you out there, if you hire an affiliate manager, assume they know nothing. And this goes back to what I said earlier. I'm going to assume the client knows nothing. And I'm going to ask such stupid questions. They're going to think that I'd rather them think, oh my gosh, did we hire the right affiliate manager, and go out and crush it for them, than try to be like the smartest guy in the room and end up looking like a doofus 6 months later. In other words, assume ignorance both ways and discuss things in advance. So assume that your affiliate manager knows nothing. If you hire an affiliate manager, assume that they aren't an expert. Don't treat them like an idiot. That's not what I'm talking about. But like, don't just say, here's the schedule and we got to, no, go, okay, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, we have 50 slots for webinars, and your job is to fill those 50 slots. And here's the order in which we want to fill them. I know you may think that you should fill them in this order, but no, it's actually this order. Oh, well, here's the launch starts on this date, but, I've had to make sure, assume that our affiliate managers know nothing. And I don't think, Jim, that you feel like I'm treating you like you're an imbecile. Yeah, he's shaking his head.
No.
You don't feel that way. You just know that I'm covering my bases to make sure that, I would rather waste a minute of your life explaining to you in depth something than have you. It's not about avoiding mistakes. I want you to make mistakes. I just don't want you to make mistakes that I easily could have prevented in a minute of time. I want you to fail a lot and screw up and learn lessons the hard way because you tried something and it didn't work. Awesome. But if I can say, boom, 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 and assume that you know nothing and teach you something and make sure that everything's understood, it's a much better position. So if you hire an affiliate manager, just assume they know nothing. So Jim, man, thank you for doing this. This has been awesome. I know I got a few things out of it that we've talked about, but honestly, I'd forgotten. So I'm excited to continue to improve our agency and keep getting better and serving our clients better and better every single day. So thank you for doing this, buddy.
Hey, I've enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
So there you have it, a behind the scenes look at one of the biggest affiliate launches of the year. As I mentioned earlier, if you got questions about this, questions about anything else, you're interested in working with us, either in a coaching relationship or having us run your affiliate program for you, text me at 260-217-4619. That's 260-217-4619. Make sure, if you haven't already, that you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit subscribe because you do not want to miss the next episode. We're going to talk about the importance of getting personal in your affiliate promotions. This is going to apply whether you're an affiliate or you're running an affiliate program. Because if you're running an affiliate program, this is a lesson you're going to want to share with your affiliates. So make sure you hit subscribe and come back from that. And if you haven't yet, make sure you leave a rating and review. We would really appreciate that. It helps us to reach more people and it'll make you feel good about yourself. So hope you got a ton out of this episode. I'd love to hear from you. Again, you can text me at 260-217-4619. I'd love to hear what you got out of this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for listening today. Remember to check out all of our deep dives into affiliate marketing at theaffiliateguy.tv. And if you have a question, ask it at asktheaffiliateguy.com. Who knows? Maybe you even be featured on an upcoming episode. And lastly, if you haven't yet, make sure to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this episode. See you soon.